Hello, and welcome to another edition of Canadian Immigration Law Updates. My name is Nandi Deterville of Deterville Law Office. On today's updates, I will be discussing measures to support international students that were announced by the Government of Canada, the expansion of the processing of immigration applications at the Sydney office, as well as some more details relating to the discretionary travel restrictions into Canada. Let's get started, shall we? So, back on February 12th, the Government of Canada announced new measures to support international students through their studies into becoming workers in Canada. Um, Typically, international students are required to complete a course within the Canadian borders. So they have to be physically in Canada at a designated institution of learning in order to then qualify with, among other things, ways to get into being get that postgraduate work permit. So on back on in February, it was announced that given the restrictions on travel into Canada due to the travel restrictions that have been implemented, as well as the number of challenges that international students are facing in their own countries, there would be a temporary measure in place to allow students that do not get to be in Canada while pursuing studies with Canadian designated learning institutions to still qualify for the postgraduate work permits. So this is quite a turnaround from the policy of the before the pandemic started back in early 2020. Here we have people who may not actually ever be in Canada whilst completing their program, still qualifying for that postgraduate work permit at the end of their successful completion of their program. It is definitely a game changer for so many who were concerned that given the fact that they had not been able to travel to Canada during the program, that they would not have gotten the opportunity to work or be added into the Canadian workforce after that successful completion. So there are amazing opportunities here for students who have not been afforded the opportunity to be in Canada for a very long time to still be able to contribute to the Canadian economy in this way. And we at Deterville Law Office have certainly been fortunate enough to be able to help students with that transition. And we will look forward to working with students who are now in this unique position of not physically being here in Canada to be able to pursue that avenue if the case arises for them. So this is definitely amazing news that was announced back in February, which I certainly wanted to cover with my listeners and subscribers today. So moving on was the announcement on March 5th regarding the number of employees to the Sydney office. The Sydney office is responsible for many of the family sponsorship applications that are sent in to Canada. And this announcement related to the hiring of an additional 62 new employees. And that was with the hope that that would ease up the backlog on family sponsorships that currently exist. And so it is great news because I do have clients again whose family sponsorship applications have been delayed quite significantly due to the pandemic. And we're hoping that these additional staff members will help and get families reunited much quicker, and that family members of Canadian citizens or permanent residents will receive their confirmation of permanent residence and be able to move into Canada with their families. And again, due to the nature of that sort of application, we are having people being able to come into Canada, which the travel restrictions to foreign nationals would not apply to. So this is indeed great news coming out of the Sydney office, and hoping that more families get reunited in a much quicker manner. So moving on to the travel restrictions currently in place, there have been no additional updates relating to the actual timeline. So as of now, still the discretionary non-essential travel restrictions between Canada and countries other than the United States are up until April 21st, 2021, and that between Canada and the US up to March 21st, 2021. And that remains in place and very likely to be extended further. We're hopeful that with the rollout of vaccinations, both here in Canada and across the world, that we will see the tapering off of these restrictions. But in all fairness, it does seem that these travel restrictions will continue in place at least up until the fall, if not until the next year. So, what I wanted to do today was again just to confirm with many people as to what it really means to return to Canada. So, again, for people, since non discretionary travel is not permitted now, it's really people flying into Canada or returning to Canada for an essential purpose. And that is all part of the government's efforts to limit the spread of the COVID-19 virus and its variants. Um, so once you've returned to Canada, you should be prepared rather for that entry with an understanding of what your obligations as a traveler is. The Canadian government has mandated that travelers download the Arrive Can app on their smartphone and are able to provide some level of disclosures to their whereabouts and their plan for quarantining in general. It is also mandatory that travelers into Canada wear a non-medical mask upon arrival. You would be expected, if returning by flight, by air, to check through that checklist of what it entails to fly into Canada via air. So, what you're expected to do, you have to check your provincial and territorial restrictions, access the quarantine plan before you travel, make sure that you have your pre entry COVID-19 test and that you are negative on that test in order to stay in Canada. You are required to reserve a 3-night stay at a hotel. Those hotels are again known as the quarantine hotels, and that is at your own expense. You are required to register in advance for the arrival test, which is done once you get there, and to use that Arrive Can app throughout the 14-day period of your quarantining. So these are things that you must be prepared to do. There is also a checklist for those driving into Canada. And again, driving into Canada typically means from the US, given the border. And again, the same thing, check with the provincial or territorial restrictions that you will be facing into going where you plan on being, assess your quarantine plan, get that test, pre COVID-19 test, register in advance for that arrival test to be done. So that is the end. Thank you so much for listening in again. I do appreciate our subscribers and our listeners, and I hope that this continues to be helpful to you in your plans to come to Canada. You can again reach us at our website, detervillelaw.com, and reach us on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, our handle being Deterville Law. And for those of you on Clubhouse, you are sure to join us having conversations in the Clubhouse. Our handle there is deterville.law. Hope to hear from you soon, and we will again provide another update within the next 2 weeks. Bye for now.